Hello and welcome to our lesson on angles. We're going to call this 1.4 angle measures. And go ahead and write your date and we're going to get right into it. An angle is a figure formed by two rays with the same endpoint. Alright, so we want to visualize this. Let's draw ourselves a figure. So I have one ray here. I'm going to call this ray QP. And I have another ray here. I'm going to call this ray QR. And I'm also going to write the number 2 in here. So I have my angle. It is formed by ray QP and ray QR. They have the same endpoint, point Q. And that point has a special name. That point is called the vertex. So we're going to write out point Q is the vertex. So it's that common endpoint of the rays. I also want to make another statement here and talk about those rays specifically. We have a ray QP and ray QR. And these are the two rays that form the angle. Okay, last thing to discuss here is we have a new geometric figure and we need to know how to name it. So we're going to list out the possible names. As you name an angle, I want you to physically take a highlighter and trace the angle with your highlighter. As we pass a letter, we're going to say it out loud and trace with our highlighter. So I'm tracing, I would say P, Q, R. So this is angle. That is my angle symbol there. Angle P, Q, R. Okay, if I go in reverse with my highlighter again, R, Q, P. So that's another possible name. Angle R, Q, P. I also can name an angle with only one letter, the vertex. So this would be angle Q. And finally, if I do have a number in the angle located like this one, I can call this angle 2. So 4 ways to name an angle if they are all present on the angle. Okay, so we're going to just define a couple more things, and these are ways to classify an angle. So we're going to write classifying angles. So we have a name for our angle that is the most specific, and we also can classify our angles, which is putting them into different categories based on their angle measure. The first classification is an angle that looks like this one, and this angle is called acute. Now, an acute angle is going to have a measure of less than 90 degrees. So I'm going to say the measure of angle A is less than 90 degrees, but I also want it to be greater than 0 degrees. So between 0 and 90 is acute. Next, I have a right angle. A right angle looks like this, and we use a special symbol in a right angle, which is our square or box. A right angle is going to be equal to exactly 90 degrees. All right, next we have an obtuse angle. Obtuse angle is one that measures greater than 90 degrees. So I'm going to say the measure of angle A is greater than 90 degrees, but it's also less than 180 degrees. And then finally, our last angle is a straight angle. A straight angle, you may guess, is in a straight line. And this straight angle is going to measure 180 degrees. So the measure of angle A equals exactly 180 degrees. Okay, so now to some examples. This should be a printout that you have. And we're going to read through the directions. We are going to name angle 3 in as many ways as possible and determine the angle measurement. Then we're going to classify the angle. So I'm doing many things here. First is naming. I'm naming angle 3, so I want to take my highlighter, and this is angle 3 here. I want to think about tracing the angle B, E, C. So this is angle BEC. If I do that in reverse, I would have CEB. Of course, angle E, just the vertex, and as was mentioned in the question, angle 3. Now, to measure my angle, I'm going to need to use a protractor. If you need assistance with this one using the protractor, speak to me in class because it is difficult for me to show in this video. All right, and then last, I'm going to classify this angle, and this angle is actually obtuse. All right, on to number 2. Name angle 4 in as many ways as possible. Determine its angle measurement and classify the angle. So those 3 things again, I am just going to focus on these 2, name and classify. So I have angle 4, taking my highlighter and highlighting angle 4. So I pass I, V, J. Angle I, V, J. In reverse, that would be J, V, I. Of course, angle V and angle 4. And this angle here is an acute angle. Okay, for the purposes of keeping this video short, we are going to leave example 3 and example 4 for you to complete on your own. And we do want this to say example 3. So complete these on your own. All right, and we're going to get into our final topic for this lesson, which is the angle bisector. So an angle bisector, and you may be thinking, oh, bisector sounds like bicycle, bicicleta, and I do want you to focus in on that prefix of bi. So an angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two angles with the same measure. Okay, and let's get an image of what that's going to look like. So I'm going to draw my angle here. Oops, let me get that going a little better. All right, so this is going to be angle ABC. All right, and then my angle is being bisected. So right down the middle, I have a ray, and I'm going to call this ray BD. So my angle is divided to result in two congruent angles, and how we're going to mark that is we're going to draw an arc on both angles, and we just need the arc or the mark to be the same. So I can have one arc, I can use two arcs, as long as the angle arc is the same. All right, so let's make some statements about this diagram. So we can say that BD is the bisector of angle ABC. So ABC, BD is the bisector. The other thing that I could say is I have two angles with equal measure. And those angles are angle ABD and angle DBC. Now, I did put a very special symbol in between those angles, which has the meaning of congruent. All right, so let's get into our final examples applying this concept of a bisector. So we want to focus in on that there are two angles with the same measure. Okay, example 5. This is on the back of our example sheet. And on example 5, I see that we have this box here, which does indicate that this angle is equal to 90 degrees. And if I read through, find the measure, so recall that this means measure, find the measure of angle GHK if HK is the angle bisector. So this is my angle bisector of GHJ. So I want to find GHK. I'm looking for this angle here. And I know that the entire angle is equal to 90. It's being divided up by HK. That is 90 divided by 2. And I get 45. So I know that the measure of angle GHK is equal to 45. All right, let's try that again. Example 6. HK, ray HK bisects angle GHJ. Find the measure of angle GHJ. So I do see that I have my 52 degree angle here, and I know the other is congruent. So this is also 52. And that is what was requested, GHK. So the measure of angle GHK equals 52. Okay, and then to bring back algebra, because that is an important part of our class, we have some algebraic questions here. We are told that BD bisects ABC. Find the value of X. So I want to look at this and think, what do I know? I know that this angle is congruent to this angle. So if I want to find the value of X, I know that X plus 12 should equal 55. And so using that, I form an equation. I can now solve this equation. subtracting 12, and I get x equals 43. Okay, let's try that again on number 8. So again, I have two congruent angles, this one here and this one here, and I'm going to set those two equal to each other. 9x equals 8x plus 3. Alright, when I have variables on both sides, to move one to the other side, I must subtract it, do the opposite, and I get x equals 3. So that concludes this video. I will talk with you soon. Have a great day.